Thousands of years ago, holy war has finally come to an end and the field is covered with bodies. A warrior known as Ashwatthama gathers all of his power and shoots it at the princess to try to kill her unborn child. At that moment, Lord Krishna appears and scolds him for his actions, so Ashwatthama tries attacking him. However, Krishna overpowers him and punishes him by removing the divine gem from his forehead, cursing him to be immortal inside a rotting body. His redemption will only come when he protects the woman carrying the god's reincarnation. 6,000 years later, Kashi is the last standing city, ruled by a 200-year-old king called Yaskin. He lives in the complex, a megastructure that hovers above the city. In the poor slums, when a truck arrives bringing prisoners, a guard scans all the women to check if they're fertile. Every fertile woman is taken to the complex to be used in a project, an experiment that wants to lengthen Yaskin's life with a serum made from unborn babies. However, no woman has ever survived more than 120 days of pregnancy. A boy tries asking for money in exchange for a girl, but when he turns around, Rhea is already running away. Suddenly, she's caught by Rumi, who takes her to a secret spot where he reunites with the rebels from the hidden city of Shambhala. There, they meet a pregnant woman named Divya, and Rumi uses a special stone to test her womb. However, it doesn't light up, which means her baby isn't God's reincarnation. At that moment, they're attacked by the guards known as raiders, who descend from the ceiling and quickly open fire. In a struggle, the stone falls, and Rhea picks up the inner piece. While the rebels drag Rhea away, Rumi kills a raider with his staff and tries rescuing Divya, but they're both captured. Moments later, they are taken to the complex, where Rumi is attacked by a beast. Commander Manas stops the animal and threatens to kill Divya if Rumi doesn't tell him where Shambhala is. When they do not speak, Manas kills both of them. Meanwhile, the raiders chase after the remaining rebels and a shootout ensues on the streets. When the raiders surround Luke and open fire, their shots are blocked by a car named Budgie, whose driver is the bounty hunter Bhairava. When the rebels tease in with money if he fights, Bhairava throws a small explosive that makes the raiders fall. However, it's just a trick and the angry men shoot him, only for Bhairava to disappear because he's just a hologram. He starts appearing at various spots, causing the raiders to attack each other instead. When the real Bhairava finally shows up, the last standing raider hits Budgie, so Bhairava punches him so hard that the guy flies through a building. More raiders appear on the bridge and capture Luke with a rope, so Bhairava uses his boots to make a big jump and kick the raiders off the bridge. One of the soldiers quickly climbs back and starts fighting him, while a second raider arrives to help. Together, they grab Bhairava and push him through a wall. Bhairava manages to defeat them, but more raiders appear on the bridge. Tired of fighting, Bhairava throws a special punch to defeat them all at the same time. Afterward, Bhairava asks the group leader for his payment and notices the holy symbol hanging off his belt. Meanwhile, in the complex, the captured women go through a routine of eating food and being locked up all day long. Manas comes to observe the insemination progress, which consists of painfully injecting the women through their bellies. The lead scientist Yuri explains none of them ever survived the first few months, so Manas orders him to take the serum now without caring if it's too soon. One of the pregnant women is put inside a machine and a mechanical tentacle connects to the body to extract the serum, which instantly kills her. Her body is thrown into the incinerator while Yuri takes the bottle with the serum before going with Manas to see the king. Councillor Bani controls a huge statue that carries the men into the royal chambers, where they give Yaskin the serum. He immediately injects it into his body, and at first he falls, but soon he rises up again and announces that the serum had been poisoned. He immediately grabs Yuri, who reveals a knife in his sleeve and stabs the king. However, Yaskin isn't even tickled and kills Yuri. Then Yaskin orders Bani and Manas to find a woman who can carry the serum long enough to develop it well. In the women's chambers, Sumathi is still shaking after seeing the woman die. She checks her own belly, revealing that she has been pregnant for over 120 days but keeps it secret. Another maid called Lyle sees her and wants to tell the scientists, but Sumathi convinces her to wait. Unfortunately, the scientists announce that all the maids will be tested again. When Manas learns about her advanced pregnancy, he immediately orders an extraction. Meanwhile, Luke asks Bhairava to join his team, but he refuses. He shares the story of how he was a war orphan and was adopted by a soldier who taught him how to fight and gamble. At that moment, Bhairava is surrounded by men who want him to pay his debts. They're interrupted by Roxy, who quickly knocks the men out before asking for her money too. She ends up fighting Bhairava but gets tired and leaves. In the meantime, Bani is called to the desert where his workers have found the legendary bow buried in the sand. At the same time, Rhea is being chased by a raider and a robot, so she escapes from the city and reaches the desert. As she tries to hide from the enemies, she falls into a hole and ends up in a mysterious cavern. The robot is still coming after her, so she hides inside an old chamber. Unfortunately, the robot finds her and grabs her by the leg to throw her away. Suddenly, an old man comes out of the shadows and the robot shoots him, but it doesn't cause damage. The old man hits the robot and destroys it while Rhea passes out. Later, Rhea wakes up and sees the old man is bleeding, but he isn't bothered. She tries chatting with him and notices he uses an old version of their language. Rhea asks him to join the rebels, but he refuses. In the complex, Sumathi is put inside the machine and the mechanical tentacle connects to her stomach. However, this causes the power to start failing and triggers an alarm. Bonnie checks on the bow, and when tries to grab it, a surge of power sends him flying. At the same time, the old man has a vision and Rhea's stone starts glowing. The man grabs it and puts it on his forehead, confirming that he is Ashwathama. The power malfunction causes Sumathi to be ejected from the machine. But when she's sliding down toward the incinerator, she's grabbed and rescued by Lyle. It turns out she did all this to help Sumathi escape because she's an undercover rebel. The women start climbing through the tunnel network and escape. Sumathi makes it out of the lab, but when she tries to take a step, she activates a trap that triggers flamethrowers. More guards are inbound, so Sumathi holds her belly and walks through the flames without getting hurt. The guards try to follow her, but they're burned down and Sumathi also collapses. By the time Manas arrives, the rebels have already taken Sumathi away. Later, Manas goes to see Bonnie, who shows him the legendary bow made by the gods. The machine tries to grab it, but the bow's power destroys it. Meanwhile, Sumathi wakes up inside a rebel vehicle on their way to Shambhala. Suddenly, the vehicle is stopped by raiders, so the rebels pretend they're just scavengers. The guard insists on checking the back, and at first he thinks it's empty, but soon he realizes it's a hologram. The rebels come out and quickly kill both raiders, but an alert has already been sent. The alert is received by Bhairava, who immediately heads into the desert to hunt down the rebels for the bounty. The vehicle is attacked by multiple raiders, but they manage to survive and keep going. Minutes later, Bhairava also arrives, but he's being followed by a collector who wants his money back. The man keeps pushing his car against Bhairava's, so Buji transforms into an aircraft to get away faster. Sadly, she malfunctions and they crash. Meanwhile, the raiders surround the rebel car and shoot down some of the rebels, but before they can do more, Rhea appears with Ash. The soldiers open fire, however their shots can't hurt Ash, who jumps in and starts fighting them. Once all the enemies are down, Ash kneels in front of Sumathi because she's carrying the god's next reincarnation. As more raiders arrive, Bhairava also shows up and quickly brings all of them down in just a matter of minutes. Then Ash grabs him and throws him on the ground, so Bhairava starts fighting him. He tries catching Ash with some chains, only for the old man to use them to bring down the building and defeat Bhairava for good. The news of Ash's return soon reaches the complex, and Bonnie concludes the prophecy comes true. If they don't kill Sumathi's baby before the eclipse, Yaskin will be in great danger. Sometime later, the rebels return to Shambhala. Some rebels don't believe that Sumathi is the chosen mother, but at that moment it starts raining after decades of dry weather. This is seen as a sign, and the rebels hit the drums to announce the prophecy is happening. Sumathi is treated like a queen, and all the elders share their blessings. In the desert, Bhairava wakes up and is surrounded by guards, who announce he's blacklisted and permanently ban him from the complex. He returns to his apartment ready to give up on life, but Luke offers to get him into Shambhala. Bhairava agrees while a flashback reveals that he's lying. In the desert, he made a deal with Manas to capture Sumathi. Now he starts working on fixing and improving Buji to leave with Luke. In Shambhala, Sumathi has a vision that shows tons of bodies around her, which makes her doubt. Rhea asks Ash about the old war, and he explains he lost to the prince with the holy bow but was saved by his friend Karna. Afterward, Ash notices that Sumathi is trying to leave because she thinks she's putting everyone here in danger. He gives a speech about responsibilities, convincing her to stay. Soon Luke and Bhairava arrive at the Shambhala while riding Buji. Ash senses danger and tries to leave with Sumathi, only to find the bridge blocked by a copy of himself. Both men start fighting, and soon Ash knocks the other guy down and the hologram reveals Bhairava. Sumathi tries running away, so Bhairava tries to grab her. Ash quickly throws Bhairava off the bridge. However, he recovers thanks to his hover boots. As Ash catches him and throws him on the ground to destroy the boots, Buji appears and fires. Ash uses his power to make her explode and throws Bhairava into the flames, but Buji transforms into a robot suit. Just then, a bunch of aircraft appeared in the sky led by Manas. Bhairava jumps on Ash, and this time Buji is stronger and throws Ash off. Bhairava then tries to make his way out, only for Ash to rise through the ground and pull the robot off the bridge. Manas' soldiers invade Shambhala, where the rebel guards are gathering with their weapons. The city's force field is stopping the fire coming from the aircraft, so Manas activates a stronger laser beam that finally brings the field down. As the soldiers rush in, the rebels activate a shockwave cannon that shuts down the enemy aircraft that get too close. A battle begins between both armies, but it's clear that the rebels have shields that give them an advantage. On the street, some falling debris is about to crush women, but they're protected by Bhairava. Ash appears nearby and Bhairava shoots his flamethrower. However, Ash jumps on top of Buji, so Bhairava uses the mechanical arms to throw him off. When he tries to shoot again, he discovers that Ash took Buji's generator. Using cloth, Ash quickly ties up all of Buji's limbs and jumps to make her fall. On the main battlefield, Mana shoots the laser beam again, causing great damage to the city. More aircraft with soldiers keep arriving and opening fire, overpowering the rebels regardless of their shields. While Sumathi is put inside an aircraft to escape, the rebel leader Miriam makes a big jump to bring down an enemy ship. Unfortunately, at that moment the aircraft is blown up by Manas, and the explosion causes Miriam to fall. Sumathi tries running, but Manas throws a mechanical harness at her to capture her and make her float toward him. A rebel drone flies up and takes Sumathi away while Miriam jumps on the enemy ship. Manas overpowers her and throws her back to kill her. Then the drone is shot and Sumathi falls, but Ash catches her. Before he can bring her up, her hand slips and she falls again. However, Bhairava appears and catches Sumathi, while Ash grabs him by the legs. Ash brings them back to the bridge and punches Bhairava, knocking him out. From the sky, more enemy harnesses fall, and this time they trap Ash. Manas lands and slaps Sumathi to knock her out before taking her to his ship. Ash yells in frustration while the holy tree burns in the middle of the city. A little leaf falls off and lands on Ash's staff, causing it to fall into Bhairava's hand. Suddenly, the staff starts burning and wakes Bhairava up, revealing he's the reincarnation of Ash's friend Karna. With the staff's power unlocked, he starts shooting flames at the aircraft, and when one tries to hit him, he stops it with just his hand and throws it back. Then he uses the staff to stop all the enemy fire and keeps on kicking or punching the aircraft away from the bridge. Ash keeps on remembering the last fight of the old war as Manas charges the cannon and Bhairava jumps to block it with the staff, which he then uses to kill Manas. His power is causing the aircraft to crumble, so he picks up Sumathi and gets off right before the ship crashes. As the bridge crumbles, Bhairava's transformation ends and he's back to normal without realizing what happened. He jumps back into Buji to escape with Sumathi, so Ash breaks the harnesses to stop the vehicle. After some struggle, Buji activates her extra power and they get to fly away. Once again, Ash remembers the day his friend Karna saved him during the war from the prince's attack. Lord Krishna had told the prince to back off because Karna was too powerful and one day he would make history. At the complex, Bonnie gives Yaskin the only drop of serum they managed to get from Sumathi before she escaped. Yaskin injects it into his body and immediately can feel a new power making him young again. The movie ends as he grabs the bow without getting hurt.